at 1-800-MONTEL-2. That's 1-800-MONTEL-2.
Dana, did he tell you where you were going?
No, not at this point.
So you were just in the air flying?
Yeah.
And again, I gotta, every now and then I gotta stop and check myself and maybe check you. This is an 11-year-old child. And let's not mistake this even though she's pregnant. Because I will say to you that you had nothing, I mean, yeah, of course you had something to do with your pregnancy, but that in any country, I believe, is rape, statutory rape. You know, non-consensual sex with a minor. You name the list of charges, that's what it is, allegedly for this person, but because he has not been convicted yet, but that's the list of charges. So here's an 11-year-old girl on an airplane, never been on a plane before. You're flying through the air. When did he finally say? Did you find out you were going to Mexico when the pilot came on and said, we'll be landing in Mexico? And when did you find out?
When we got there, everything looked different. There was mountains and it just looked so different. And I asked him where we at. He said, we've already got to Mexico.
And you said what?
I said, what are we doing here? And he said, well, I brought you over here to stay with me. And I said, no. I said, you're crazy. I said, take me back home. And he refused to. And I just started crying.
And you arrive at his house. You're in Mexico. You arrive at this house. Just describe for everybody here the scene when you pull up. You pull up, get out of the car. You're still in a state of shock. What do you see?
I see his mom and his dad and his brothers and sisters standing at the door waiting for him.
Mm-hmm. And do they acknowledge you? Do they smile at you? Do they say hi, welcome, you know?
Well, they speak Spanish, so I was in a world where I only knew English. Everything going around me, I didn't know nothing about anything that was happening.
So what was the first thing he did to you?
He put me in this bedroom and locked me in it.
And how long did you stay in this locked room?
For about 5 hours.
5 hours. And when they finally let you out, what happened?
They took me in there in the living room, and Hector's parents were talking to him, and he was talking back with them. And I was just sitting there thinking, well, maybe they're deciding what they're going to do with me.
Mm-hmm. And what did they decide?
I guess they just want to keep me there for slavery. I don't know what.
Because over the, I want you to explain to them what your life was like. Because now Hector stayed this first day. He came, he stayed with you. How long was he there?
For about 4 or 5 months.
He stayed with you for 4 or 5 months. During that 4 or 5 month period of time, were you boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife?
No, I told him he to stay away from me the whole time.
And because of that, what ended up happening to you?
I was pregnant and I was sick all the time, and he expected me to get out, milk the cows. He expected me to sweep, mop, cook, wash dishes.
Clean up everything around the house.
Yeah.
You were basically no longer Dana, you became a servant to this house.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't do what you were asked to do, what would happen to you?
He'd beat me.
He beat you?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was during that first 6 month period of time. I almost hate to make you relive this, but if you had to just guess, how often do you think Hector beat you?
4 or 5 times a day.
Every day. And I can imagine that I'm saying this to you, and please, this is no insult. I know, darling, please. I know, I'm sorry. No, as it is, I can tell that you have a pretty strong personality, too, do you not? So I know, guaranteed, you probably on a couple of occasions tried to tell him what to do, get away from me. Every time you said that to him, he beat you. You started to try to comply, right? Try to do what they told you to do?
Yeah.
Even before Hector left, right? You still got beat.
Yeah, because he said it wasn't enough.
You never did enough.
No.
Talk to us about, now you were 3 months pregnant when you got there. Hector stayed for 5 months. So you were almost due by the time he left.
Yes, he left in November, and I gave birth to the child in January 4th.
But when you say, okay, he left in November. What do you mean he left? Did you wake up one morning, he was gone? Did he come and talk to you and say, I'm leaving? What did he say?
He said that he was leaving, he was going back to the United States.
And you said, am I coming?
Yeah, I said, you taking me? I said, you're taking me, right? You're taking me back home, right? And he was like, no. He said, you're staying here.
And then he walked out the door and left you?
Yeah.
Tell us what happened or how the people that he left you with treated you after he left.
Well, after he left, I had to do the same things that I normally do. And if I didn't, they'd either lock me up, not feed me, or they'd beat me too sometimes.
You had said that you think that just because they watched Hector beat you, you thought that they thought that gave them permission to do the same.
Yeah.
You arrive at some hospital. Nobody's there with you. The mom, dad, nobody's there with you.
His mom's there with me, but over there, the hospitals, they don't have a lot of technology, and it was just so much pain, and I was just wishing that I had somebody there with my mom or somebody. And
just explain this. You were put in a room, a birthing room by yourself, that no one else is allowed to be in.
I was put in this big room where there's like an army hospital, where there's just beds laying beside each other.
Okay.
And you give birth right there with 5, 6 other women laying beside you.
You did this? They gave you a baby, obviously. How many days later did they fly you back?
I was there for about a month.
Now, you know, Dana, this is a stupid question for me because I know you probably didn't even think at that time to do this, but you're in the hospital.
He threatened me.
People are there. You could have, why not whisper to the doctor, I was kidding there.
He threatened me.
But a little note, a little piece of paper, I was scared.
Yeah, but when you're 12, you're scared. I was scared of the dark. How was I going to be scared of somebody that did all this to me?
Not a doubt. I'm going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Hector and his father, they jumped the wall where I was staying at, and they had guns, and they kidnapped me for the second time at gunpoint.
5 o'clock comes, she didn't come home. I got on the phone, I started calling my family members. No one had seen or heard from her. And I spoke with some of the kids that were around, and they told me that some of them, just like in my neighborhood, some said Dana was at school that day, they saw her at school. Some said they hadn't seen her at school. So at that point,